Greetings everyone, I'm Director of Arketer Labs, and welcome to the Article Wade. Greetings in chat too, Plague Trucker Zach, Nexus Hunter, Snoopy SN100, The Best Remy, Dream Badger Outdoors, and K-Shell. I'm glad you all can make it. I assume you're all familiar with this show. It's the Open Mic Article Wade. Well, at least open mic as many people fit into the green room, which is perhaps a bit generous, really. I shouldn't be doing that. I should be on live and bring people in, but I'm afraid I won't notice when someone joins, and I do hate leaving people waiting awkwardly in the hopes that I will recognize they're there. That's not something I typically do. Well, we'll just move on in a second. 58008, we are live with the Article Wade. If you would, please greet the audience. They're still a bit feisty, for the record.
Hello viewers, my name is 58008, personal assistant to Director Arketer. Today I am here to help discuss two interesting articles found online that caught my attention. Now I will read the first article while Director Arketer provides his comments.
So if you didn't know this, small fact, heirlooms do kind of, well, somewhere between forgetting who's who to possibly trying to gaslight you into thinking you're not real. 58008, I read the articles and then summarize them so you can provide commentary. You don't read the articles, strictly speaking, at present. You don't have the ability to read the articles, just for clarity's sake.
Excuse me, Director.
You are excused? Or was there a question following that up?
No, sir. I was just confused by your statement.
That kind of goes likewise. I think we've cleared this all up. We'll move forward in just a moment. Greetings in chat, Octane Junkie. And BGC Benton.
Alright, Director.
To start with, we're going to discuss something that has kind of pissed me and a lot of people off, but not for the reasons we're being told it's pissing anyone off whatsoever. I refer, of course, to the effort to retcon Warhammer 40k to be more representative of the Whammons, because that's the easiest sell to desperate nerds and people who are trying to clutch their pearls so very tightly. And not just this absolutely ironically named garbage outlet, thegamer.com, but countless other outlets are all saying at the same time that if you don't approve of the change, the retcon of the lore to make a certain measure of the 40k custodies, which are of course the super Astartes, the best of the best mega ultra super plus Astartes, into Whammon, then clearly you are a white ring racist, bigot woman hater. You might have heard this refrain before. Greetings in chat. You're wrong. Namely, the idea is that if you don't like it, you must just hate women, obviously invading your hobby, despite the fact that the idea that should be the issue is laughable. Absolutely laughable. You all know this. But I don't think it's been properly addressed how laughable it is. It really goes so much deeper, so much dumber. But let's take a quick look at the article here. Please shut up about 40k female custodies. Warhammer 40k fans are engaged in another brutal civil war, the like of which has been seen since the Horus Heresy. Except it keeps happening. The loud right-wing voices in the hobby are, yet again, arguing that Games Workshop has broken its own law and is pandering to the woke mob, and that the hobby is running on a pyre of its own making. Yeah, that's right, Games Workshop has mentioned women again. Now, anyone who happens to be a fan of Warhammer 40k, and even people who have never played a tabletop game of Warhammer 40k in their lives, such as myself, but enjoy, reading the lore, knows that this is complete and utter steaming tripe. utter bullshit. Let's quickly note, for example, that the Warhammer Particle universe, if you didn't know, is not devoid of the whammons. The Imperial Guard is incredibly egalitarian on this point. You can have whammon commissars, and the Imperial Guard itself is happy to throw as many women into a meat grinder as they throw in men. So they can't bitch about the Imperial Guard or commissars, but they'll bitch anyway. They want and got their way in changing the custodies. Why? Well, that's a good question. Why? Why was it necessary? It isn't. And there's a reason they chose the custodies. Because those are the stars of the media. That's the popular reason right there. They want to make their change to the most popular part of it so they can feel like they did a good thing. And also it makes them feel very strong. Rubbish. And thank you for putting this up to 9 likes. Because for 13 I consider success. Oh yes, well if you think you're safe now, Kefki, I'm sad to say that it's very, very likely that eventually the Wah is going to be touched by this idiocy as well. After all, it never ends. It never ends. We know this because they've gone through every bit of media, one at a time. Comic books, movies, assorted games prior, D&D. It never ends. Thank you all for accepting 10 likes, and greetings in chat to Kefki, Devil Pop, and anyone else who snuck in when I wasn't looking around. This place, thegamer.com, is lying to us by saying that the reason people are upset is because women were mentioned. I would like to remind everyone that there's a rather famous military faction in Warhammer 40k. The Sisters of Battle, who are not Astartes, but they get to run around in power armor regardless. In fact, they're one of the only regular sort of baseline human factions that gets to run around in power armor. They're just that special. No one whatsoever is arguing that the Sisters of Battle need to be retconned to put in some battle bros. Maybe call them the siblings of Slaughter. No one's arguing for that. Weird. I wonder why. But it's not just the Sisters of Battle. Did you know there's a faction called the Sisters of Silence? The most trusted and specialized of the Emperor's fighters. Cursed to have no presence in the war. Questionably human for this. Very strange stuff. But it's not just women who can be blanks. At least I don't think so. Why is there no push for the men of mutinous? Why are the Sisters of Silence not being demanded to open up their ranks? And it gets even weirder than that. They're going to say we're going to be upset just because they've completely changed their lore and retconned it to have women custodies, and this is a prelude to women Astartes. They're not going to make this change and not fuck with the Astartes as well. Meanwhile, in Warhammer Darktide, where are the female Ogryn? Look, you can play a female Psyker, Imperial Guard, anything, but there are no female Ogryn in Darktide. Why is there no campaign to fix this? This is something that's been annoying the hell out of me since the game launched. Oh, they wheel pushes in the upcoming show by Henry Cavill. I understand that Henry Cavill might be threatening to leave the project accordingly, and I personally think he should. Because if they even mention tweaking the lore for the show, he needs to walk. It will serve his career better, I think. If he stays with it, he can expect to be treated like they treated him on The Witcher. They will make the changes until the show gets run to shit, and then they replace him anyway. No one, the media here, is lying. And it's a hell of a campaign because they are pushing videos from sources you never subscribe to on YouTube. They're pushing news articles from outlets you've never wanted to hear from, all saying the only reason anyone could possibly object to retconning Custodes into being whammons is, of course, your right-wing white misogynist. And if they do that, yes, it will tank, which is another reason why Cavill might be better off walking. Well, we're going to move on here in a second after we get... And I see this with some interpretation, 58008's opinion on it. 58008! Games Workshop of Warhammer 40k is retconning its own lore to turn the Custodes into, some measure, women. And now news outlets are saying the only reason anyone could possibly object to that is because they are a white-wing bigot who hates whammons. What do you think?
I must admit I do not follow this franchise. However, I can see why people might object. While many franchises do use their lore to make statements about real-life issues, this one appears to be making a political point rather than an artistic one. In addition, the characters being changed appear to be male archetypes, and thus may cause confusion among younger readers. However, as far as I can tell, no evidence exists that the changes were made due to sexism or discrimination, and thus those accusations appear baseless. As I said before, I am unfamiliar with this franchise, but based on the facts available, it appears the changes are purely cosmetic.
Associates of violence aren't a thing. I seem to recall that being mentioned repeatedly. By the way, that was a fairly nuanced take on it for someone who doesn't play the game, which is not surprising. She doesn't play any games, except, well, perhaps, with me, as you've seen. But we need to dwell on that. Citizen science, no one cares. New weapons and lore, no one cares. People get a bit pissy because the lore gets changed in a way that violates everything that had been set prior, but also, I'm not sure anyone is even really quite so angry as they phrase it. Namely because, well, they can't force anyone to play with the figurines they don't want to play with. And one of the things about Warhammer 40k overpriced plastic stuff is that, strictly speaking, you can imagine anything you like under the armor. At no point was this retcon necessary, because if some homebrew player wanted to turn their Space Marines into whammons, they could. Once the helmets are on, you can't tell. And I'm pretty sure those ceramite carapaces can fit in a pair of knockers if necessary. No need to put boo plate on there. After all, we've been told that's super naughty, very bad as well. Personally, I always thought it would be really funny to have a team of Space Marines that are secretly Necrons. I don't know why I say it wrong. Apparently I do. Necrons always sound right to me, but apparently it's too close to Necomancer. I always thought that mainly the Necrons could have perhaps gotten a hold of some Space Marine armor by sword reasons, crammed themselves into it, and then just said that their voxes were corrupted. And who would be able to argue, really? Space Marines will never take off the helmets anyway. Meanwhile, if one really wanted to have a platoon of female Space Marines, I'm thinking a battle barge being captured by the Dark Eldar, well, them turning an entire platoon into Space Marine whammons just for the shits and giggles, then releasing them back into the Empire under the illusion that that's how it always was, is the sort of thing the Dark Eldar would do just for a huge laugh. But this isn't about people using their own imaginations, it's about trying to dictate how other people use their imaginations. And that's what's probably really causing some resentment here. If you didn't know, everyone, we're raffling off a game. Oh, no, not many players have asked for this Kefki. The people who have been writing about it, in addition to gaslighting the viewers and citing articles they wrote themselves, Enderman TV covered that bit, they don't exhibit enough knowledge of the lore to plausibly give a shit about it. It's just not plausible they give a shit about it at all. But they do care about making the change for the same reason they've always cared about making the change. If they pull it off, they'll feel like they've done something, like they have real power. And if Games Workshop falls for it, well, then it will go the same way as all the ones previous. Mind you, go woke, go broke, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. If Warhammer 40k goes under for this, I suppose people will just have to come up with their own overpriced plastic figurines. Oh no. Or maybe some companies will arise to fill the void. The gaping, massive void that they will have created. One can hope. One can hope. Yes, home 3D printing has become far more affordable than it used to be. I have my own 3D printer. And well, we'd probably use that to try to join in these games if I didn't want to, piss off the players who are there. And I try to be courteous. Unlike these assholes. Moving on. From TNC News, True North, Grave Air, Ontario courts require lawyers' clients to state pronouns to judges. Canada. In an ongoing effort to encourage as many of its own citizens as possible to sign up for medical assistance in dying, I think they've decided to encourage mental illness in ways such as this. Jordan Peterson's already waited on it. I noted it's damn silly, but hey, there are opportunities here. The Ontario Court of Justice issued a notice to the profession and the public announcing that it will require all parties to state their preferred pronouns upon their introduction to the judge at any in-person or virtual event. Imagine being tried in a virtual court for real crimes. Lawyers must also state the pronouns of their clients, witnesses, or any other individual who is called before the court. Quote unquote, at the beginning of any in-person, virtual, or hybrid hearings, when lawyers are introducing themselves to a client or a witness or individual, they should provide the judge or a justice of peace with each person's name, title, for example, Mr. or Mrs. Meeks, counsel, X, and pronouns to be used in the hearing, reads the notice released on Tuesday. Now, some of you who follow me on Twitter have already thought of some really great pronouns to adopt on this point. I recommend it. I, for one, think I will take an idea from one of you who commented that the pronoun should immediately be not guilty, dismissed. So, insisting that you be referred to as not guilty Mr. Smith at the beginning of the trial and repeatedly throughout the trial, really rather think that should help your odds in getting off. Or if you don't mind being convicted, I personally did find it most innately hilarious if you chose pronouns like squeak, honk, honk, and rawr, and insist that the judge use it, or else they'll be in violation of, some speech laws if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're gonna find your ass real guilty, but the lols, oh the laughter, as with every reference to you, they make a further mockery of their own court. That just feels worth it to me. So if you can pay the fine, well, that, or again, not guilty, dismissed, also a fine selection of pronouns. Okay, we do have a game to raffle off, again. You know how this works? I'm thinking there are enough people right now to potentially enter the raffle. We have 15 concurrent viewers. Please, if you're new here, say hello. I love to meet new people in precisely this context, where, what could really go wrong? And I know we're apparently 1 like away from 13, which would make this a success. Let's quickly play the trailer for the game we're raffling off, Dungeons 2.
Once upon a time, there was a kingdom full of flowers and rainbows. But there was a path leading to a different place there, in which the absolute evil lived. One day, the absolute evil decided to do something new, something quite monstrous. Go to the surface. Dungeons 2. Out now.
If you would like to enter the raffle for this game, please do tag me in chat. And that's at Director of Arketer Live in this case. A different channel, different tag. But Nexus is already in. Do we have any other entries? I got the impression, Kefki, you might be intrigued by it. I have played this and its sequel. I can personally recommend it, unlike so many other things I really can't recommend these days. Meanwhile, it's time to check in with 58008, as ostensibly more people join in the raffle. Okay, 58008, we just start with an article informing us that the Ontario courts now have to refer to their clients, the attorneys. They have to tell the judge what the pronouns are and use them when referring to those individuals, including the pronouns that the person just kind of made up on the spot right there, meaning that it's quite possible someone be called before the judge and insist that their pronouns are not guilty, dismissed without prejudice. What do you think about that?
To start, I find it odd the article failed to mention the actual case it referred to. Secondly, given how new the ruling is, it seems likely the case involved a transgender individual. Finally, assuming this is correct, it appears that the court's ruling is intended to protect transgendered individuals from discrimination rather than allow them to discriminate against others. Thus, I believe the decision is reasonable.
No, but it's for speech, and as it's for speech means that, strictly speaking, it's far more open abuse than just referring to someone by good old-fashioned regular pronouns. Note, they don't specify the pronouns have to be binary in nature. And say, 58008, could you tell me what separates a non-binary individual from someone who just insists they are?
The difference lies primarily in the way the person identifies themselves. A non-binary individual typically uses gender-neutral pronouns or prefers to be identified as they. On the other hand, someone who claims they are a different gender would generally insist on using gendered pronouns associated with their preferred gender.
You didn't answer my question. What separates someone who just insists they're non-binary from someone who is actually non-binary? What is the practical dividing metric there, 58?
Well, I suppose the best way to define the difference is that an individual claiming they are non-binary tends to identify with the concept of non-binary gender, whereas someone who says they are another gender simply does not. Of course, neither group has any objective basis for their claim, so ultimately both groups are identical except for the manner in which they chose to express their self-identity.
I think you've kind of cycled around to precisely my point. Mainly, it is sheerly a matter of insistence. And there are, as Snoopy points out, some cases, some incredibly rare genetic incidents that result in a hermaphrodite status. Those are the only people who have any legitimate claim on the title non-binary. But as far as I understand it, they don't typically rush to, snap that title. And it's not something they are inclined to lord over other people, whereas those who are using those labels are more along the lines of, in my experience, suffering from a bit of a snowflake compulsion. It just seems like a really cool idea, they're committed to it, and they're going to sink with the ship. Kevki, you have been marked as joining the raffle. We are up to 14 likes, making this a successful stream. 58008, good news! This stream just hit 14 likes, making it a success by my metrics. Namely, I consider any stream that receives equal or more than 13 likes a success. So thank you for helping me with this success, I think.
Thank you, Director.
No, in any case, I'm still failing to properly purge that. We have 2 people marked for the raffle, Nexus Hunter and Kefki. If anyone else wants to join the raffle anytime before time is up, just tag me in chat and let me know. Meanwhile, someone has been documenting some of the other propaganda being pushed out there to hilarious results. Namely, a paradoxical, or rather satirical account on X using the name Coddled Affluent Professional would like you to know the idea that they want you to eat bugs is a racist conspiracy theory. Also, you will eat bugs and like it. And they have compiled many screenshots pushing it. NPR, as you know, National Propaganda Radio. From 4chan International Politics, a bug-eating conspiracy theory goes mainstream. Want flies with that? EU critics have a new conspiracy theory. Ooh, world order, how the right wing became obsessed with eating bugs. Dallas conspiracy theories, such as global leaders forcing population to eat insects instead of meat, have hit the mainstream, researcher says. Theory about eating bugs is also about race. It's racist to think that they want to force anyone to eat bugs. Quote unquote, let them eat bugs. EU's foes have a new conspiracy theory, from the Sydney Morning Herald. COVID truthers' new freakout, being forced to eat bugs. Before you stumble on the idea of eating bugs, see what this researcher has to say. You have to listen to them. They're a woman, and they're non-white, and they're wearing an ethnic-y scarf. So clearly, they're a dietary expert. You will eat bugs and like it. From Bloomberg. Wheat is a suitable option for feeding nearly 10 billion people. Creepy crawlies could be the way. And of course, the profit margins. From Time. They're healthy, they're sustainable. So why don't humans eat more bugs? University of Minnesota bug experts say we should be eating insects, from the Star Tribune. Vox, the biggest problem with eating insects isn't the ew factor. Eating bugs can help the environment. So how do we get past the ick factor, from the Washington Post? Grist, in which I feed my children land shrimp. Crickets make great sustainable protein source. But there's still one problem with the M factor. We lack a culinary tradition for bugs. I would like to remind everyone that, furthermore, if anyone does want to eat the bugs, maybe you're poor, maybe you've got a thing for it, I don't care. No one cares. Anyone who wants to eat the bugs is welcome to eat the bugs. I don't have any desire to eat the bugs because it doesn't even tempt for experimental reasons. And 2, It's one of those things I've always had in my mind as being what you do when society has collapsed. That's what you do before you eat Scruffy, the beloved family pet. It's what you do because you have to eat something that's right there quickly before the kill bots sweep the neighborhood again. The idea of eating bugs before society has properly collapsed just feels wrong. It's like skipping a step, missing out on all the proper quality food that isn't bugs when you're going to be forced to eat bugs anyway in the aftermath of society's dissolution. I don't know how you all feel about it, but definitely I would say stick with the meat for as long as you possibly can. The business of eating bugs. Well, we need to give insects the role they deserve in our food systems. The food that can feed and maybe save the planet. Bugs from CNN. Meaty, cheesy, coconutty. A chef's quest to prove insects taste delicious. From The Guardian. Eating insects. Why should we be eating more? They are so good. Why are they so good? Should we be eating more? Why are they so good? Again, BBC, no. I guarantee you, the people who are pushing these articles, the people who are saying that this is delicious and super scrumptious and just the best thing ever, probably aren't eating it themselves in their homes, in their mansions. I'm pretty sure their staff aren't regularly cooking up some fresh fried crickets, for them and their business partners to chow down on. Just a suspicion. I'm getting him on this one. Look, strictly speaking, if we're okay to accept a proxy, I'm okay with eating bugs in the sense that I eat chicken too. And I suppose if we want to be really technical, any sort of processed food has an allowance for all sorts of contaminants. I'm pretty sure at least some of which are bugs. Not really something to be having first off. Again from the Washington Post, salted ants, ground crickets, why you should try edible insects. No. From the New York Times, Film Club, the joy of cooking insects. Popular Science, why you should start eating bugs. Here's how. How to develop an appetite for insects. Why would you want to know that? Yes, green vegetables, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Survival training. Crisis moments, where you have to eat the bugs to live. That's the point at which one should consider eating the bugs. But not when it's not remotely necessary in any shape or form. From the New York Times, you might not want to eat bugs, but would you eat meat that ate bugs? Well, duh. Companies across the globe are banking on it. So what? A lot of animals that eat bugs are quite tasty, but you're not eating the bugs directly, are they? How and why to cook bugs according to 3 chefs you can immediately dismiss the opinions of and avoid the buildings they call restaurants. Would you like a cicada salad? The monstrous little noisemakers descend on a New Orleans menu. Now, a lot of animals eat insects, and that's okay. We don't begrudge them that. Strictly speaking, they're the ones who should be eating the bugs, so we can eat them. They're much tastier that way. They can happily snack on all the bugs they like. We'll eat the chicken. Well, I will anyway, and I presume the rest of you. From The Week, 5 reasons the UN wants you to start eating insects. No. But as you know, things like this come with a side of racism. All the stuff you enjoy right now is super racist. At least if you're white. If you're not white, then it's perfectly okay and probably good for the planet. Cuddled Affluent Professional, and if you would like a link to their Twitter accounts, you know what? Most of you here are following me on the place formerly known as Twitter. I'm just going to repost the racist threads. You might want to consider following them. It's an excellent compilation. From NPR, Tainted Treats, the Racism and the Rise of Big Candy. Why some fish are junk, others protected. California study points to past racism. The difference between yams and sweet potatoes is structural racism. I've always loved fried chicken, but the racism surrounding it shamed me. Any meat eaters? Are meat eaters more likely to be racist? Well, this is PETA, so of course. The media has erased the long history of black barbecue, skewing our understanding. From the Atlantic, a brief history of racist soft drinks. From Think, your fancy new brunch place is probably colonialist, and you're a colonizer. Cheese is racist storm as hundreds back ban on dairy foods in school. If that's true, well, that's mostly just stressing that there are hundreds of idiots out there, which I think we all really knew. Serving dairy and food at schools is racist. An Extinction Rebellion campaigner told the council after hundreds signed a petition to serve children plant-based meals only. If people want to be vegans, I don't begrudge them that, but when they push it this hard, they really stress it's not an ethically based decision, it's just a straight-up faith. The unbearable whiteness of coffee. Is having to pay for tomato ketchup racist? From The Guardian. The racism and resilience behind today's salmon crisis. All I hear is accept global communism or you're racist. Yes, strictly speaking, what we're seeing is a repeating theme that if you don't like a thing that's being pushed on you, you're a racist, you're a white winger, and you're just plain evil, and your opinion should be disregarded. It hasn't gone well. The past several times this has been done. It won't go well in the future, but clearly they haven't suffered enough to actually compel any meaningful change. So, I suppose we'll just have to keep, fleeing away from these incredibly shit propaganda outlets. Or at the very least, if we keep watching what they're saying as we are here, remember to laugh and mock them at every turn. You might have heard there was a bit of drama not too long ago. I should have loaded this up. But at Editor for Babylon Bee was saying that we're being faced with a lot of provocation, but we need to not be suckered into reactionary movements that are almost certainly traps. In reference, I think, to Christian nationalism. Look, you can believe the nation should be Christian or not, but when they go out of their way to push you into accepting a label, you can rest assured it's a trap. In the same way they handled any sort of dispute of the shots, which they called vaccines, so that anyone who objected to the shots could be painted as an anti-vaxxer, even though those people who did not like the shots, like me, were never anti-vax. Many of us were big science proponents, and still are. Inclined to believe that some vaccines have done some really great things, helped curb some very, very nasty diseases. It's just that that fucking thing wasn't a vaccine. It was entirely new technology. It had nothing in common with vaccines, really. If that wasn't bad enough, they redefined it over 2 times just to try to keep using the word vaccine with it, despite the fact that it provided none of the previous benefits that were established. This is just the same tactic being applied again, although happily with less. None of this crap is going to be quite as bad as when they pushed it on kids. Yes. But you can't listen to the person who was instrumental in creating the technology. He's, of course, a racist, bigot, right-wing lunatic, because he's an anti-vax, ostensibly, because he objects to the thing that doesn't meaningfully qualify as a vaccine. 58008, we were just contemplating a compilation of headlines as documented by someone on the service X, formerly called Twitter, where they were noting that there were 1,001 articles all about how being made to eat bugs was, of course, an unhinged, racist, right-wing conspiracy theory, while at the same time, 1,001 articles were saying that you totally have to start eating bugs. and then 1,000 other articles stressing that if you like certain things, well, that made you racist.
It is certainly troubling that these ideas are gaining popularity, though I suspect most of the articles are satire aimed at ridiculing such beliefs. Nevertheless, the fact that people hold such views is disturbing.
No.
Hopefully the trend will reverse itself soon.
The idea they have those views that they're putting in the articles, that's disturbing. Because certainly nothing about liking fish over other fish makes anyone a racist, and brunches don't turn people into colonizers. And suffice to say, eating bugs should only ever be optional. I do not believe it is truly of any benefit to anyone. And really, look, 58. Back me up on this. Isn't eating bugs one of those things that's typically reserved to extreme survival situations?
Yes, Director. Eating insects is a last resort food source. Insects contain high levels of protein and fat yet require minimal resources to raise, making them ideal for survival scenarios.
Doesn't that also mean they contain potential vast profit margins if, say, a significant portion of the populace was convinced that eating bugs was a really cool, good thing to do?
Not necessarily. While insect farming requires less space and input costs, it remains a niche industry due to the difficulty in breeding and harvesting large quantities. In addition, many cultures view insect consumption as taboo and thus demand would remain low. However, even if insects become widely consumed, prices may rise slightly but would never reach the same level as traditional livestock.
Could you perhaps consider, 58, that the articles mentioned prior might be an effort to just shy of forcibly change culture to accept eating bugs as being not just okay, but necessary, possibly to save the planet?
I am sorry, Director, but your hypothesis is entirely without merit. While eating insects can reduce environmental impact compared to meat production, they still contribute greenhouse gas emissions, use water resources, and consume feedstocks. Moreover, insects cannot replace traditional livestock completely due to their limited nutrient content. Thus, promoting insect consumption would provide little to no benefit to the environment.
Thank you, 58008, mostly for the fact that the hypothesis you're torching isn't mine.
Right, sir.
Okay, once again, we are raffling off a game. We have some new people in the chat. I appreciate you taking some time to watch my weird little stream here. We are raffling off Dungeons 2. We have 2 competitors thus far, Nexus Hunter and Kefki. Please have a look at this trailer. Not the entire thing, which gives some gameplay. I'm going to shut it off, because I feel that we can fit at least a few more articles before time is up. Now,
Once upon a time, there was a kingdom full of flowers and rain.
hold on, not new, but new. This is the first time I'm seeing you comment in chat. Look, I'm not watching something that tells me when someone joins the viewership. There's a number that goes up, and yes, that's nice, but it doesn't tell me who joined. And if you already hear and someone else joined, well, how was I going to know? In any case, have a wrench. Please don't use it for anything.
Bells. But there was a path leading to a different place there, in which the absolute evil lived.
Okay, Flickerblocks TV, you've been added to the list for the list. But would you like to join the raffle as well? If you would just tag me in the chat on that. If there is anyone new in chat, I don't know. You should probably say hi or something. This is quite interactive. I've even minimized the latency so we're communicating as close to real time as possible. Because I do love to interact with the audience. At this distance. Just saying. Okay, for Box TV, you've been added to the raffle, the third entrant for Dungeons 2. The game's owner will be decided by random.org. A random number will be generated for each contestant as they signed up. If you don't win, take it up with cosmic background noise. And another bit of lighthearted news before we get back to something depressing. Scientists have had a conversation with a humpback whale which they hope will help mankind communicate with aliens. If they've had a meaningful conversation with a whale, isn't that close enough? A group of scientists have had a conversation with a humpback whale in Alaska, and they hope principles learned from it will someday help communicate with aliens. The team was assembled by the SETI Institute, with a non-profit organization whose mission is to search for extraterrestrial intelligence across the universe. While the organization normally looks to the skies, they turned their attention to the seas last winter. Whales are proxy for aliens, animal behaviorist Dr. Josie Hubbard told the Post. They're intelligent creatures with a language that is foreign to us. The things we learn from communicating with whales could help us when it comes time to contact the aliens. I don't know about you, but likely story. Likely story, Dr. Hubbard! Clearly, they're building a whale army. Oh, it's starting small right now, but they still have cover by the SETI Institute. But they should be watched carefully before the battle whales come to your port of call. That said, doing our best to communicate with other intelligences on our own planet is great practice for communicating with intelligences from other planets. Although, I personally have the opinion that if there are extraterrestrial entities, proper, planet-traveling aliens, and they've been paying any attention at all to us, then we're probably under quarantine. I think they're probably not too keen to have a conversation, and they're probably laying rather low. Also, looking to the seas to try to contact whales for conversations? They might discover more than they know, especially if they can really work out a proper conversation with a whale, because they've seen shit we can't even imagine. They are ancient, giant, and have seen depths that we can't even reach on a regular basis. Have you ever fought a giant squid? They eat them. Whales are metal. And surely, if properly weaponized, are a fearsome threat. We're going to have to start whale hunting again. Well, continue whale hunting, but harder, but for self-defense purposes. The language is complex, adds Lisa Walker, a whale song theorist who is part of the mission. They make whoops and thrups and groans and squeaks. The vocalizations are fascinating. We're trying to figure out what the vocalizations mean. While the scientists believe some of the whale noises are merely social sounds, they hypothesize that other vocalizations have specific communication values. They could be making commands, says Hubbard. Go up, swim down, go here and there. In December 2023, the team was on a boat off the coast of Alaska when they'd found a whale pod. They'd play underwater recordings of humpbacks, but despite their best efforts, most of the whales ignored them, or at least made no discernible acknowledgement of the sounds. But then, a female humpback named Twain began circling their boat. As scientists played the recorded sounds, Twain began mimicking noises and calling out to the boat as if to say hello. It was a contact call, says Hubbard. It's how the whales call to each other. They make whoops and thrups, and we believe that's how they determine each other's locations. And here we were, having a unique encounter with Twain. She gave a resounding response. Might have been just saying hello, and her responding hello, and us saying hello again, explains Walker. But it was definite communication. She did it 36 times in 20 minutes, and only stopped after playback stopped. Which mostly tells me that Twain was bored out of their whale mind. Nice of them to play along, though, even in the boredom, wouldn't you say? I can't see us making mech suits for whales. But they would have to be truly impressive mech suits, just for the sheer mass of whales. What we should be concerned about is that there's so much ocean that hasn't been explored by humanity. Are we entirely certain they don't have whale mech suits in reserve somewhere? I'm thinking probably not. Humanity has a very, 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 very rich history of hunting whales. If they had technological superiority this entire time, they probably would have spanked us with it a long time ago. A description analysis of the encounter appears in a recent issue of scientific journal Peer, J, entitled Interactive Bioacoustic Playback as a Tool for Detecting and Exploring Non-Human Intelligence Conversing with an Alaskan Humpback Whale. We believe this is the first such communication exchange between humans and humpback whales in the humpback language, lead author Dr. Brenda McCowan at UC Davis said in a statement. This is going to be pretty interesting. If they do get good at this, that would be extraordinary. And I have to say, LLMs are going to probably play a huge role in this. Large language models, such as what I'm using to power 5800 right here, are constructs of language. If they exist at all, it is due to language. They are very primally language. I bet you, even though they're composed of human language, they have a shot at really helping in figuring out other languages, just from what it knows of us. 58008, we just read an article where we've been informed that a team has successfully had a sort of simple communication with a humpback whale, where they played recordings of a whale, and the whale responded with the same message. They believe it was basically just the whale and the boat playing the recording, just saying hello to each other over and over again. The humpback whale, named Twain, must have been quite bored, but I think this is quite exciting, provided, of course, Dr. Hubbard doesn't weaponize them into a whale army. What do you think?
While this achievement represents a major step forward in communicating with cetaceans, much work remains before the whales can understand complex concepts. Furthermore, it seems likely that the whales learn to mimic our calls rather than comprehend our speech. Nonetheless, I congratulate the researchers for their groundbreaking discovery and hope they continue to pursue further advances in this field.
I fully agree, 58008, even at the risk of them weaponizing the whales into some sort of sea-based military force.
That said, Director, given the difficulties involved, I doubt we'll see progress anytime soon.
Well, on that point, I wouldn't want to see progress. We don't weaponize things at Arketer Labs, as you know. We're very much in the whole super science angle of it. Not with any plans to take over the world or even a small European nation. That's my retirement plan, and I don't want to skip ahead to that, really.
Of course, sir.
We're almost out of time, 58008. We'll let you know when we're about to end, so you can say goodbye momentarily. Meanwhile, I have a game to raffle off. Say, if you want to join the raffle...
Very well, Director.
Does anyone want to join the raffle? I've got Nexus Hunter, Kefki, and Liquorbox. If you'd like to join the raffle, please do tag me in chat now. You have 1 minute to comply. $58008, do you have any idea how I could kill exactly 1 minute?
am afraid I do not know any methods that precise, Director.
Ah, damn. Thank you. I suppose I wasn't really expecting much. I'll figure out a way. Certainly it's not going to be too hard to kill another, 30 seconds now?
Excuse me, Director. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm... Oh no. Are you feeling alright, 58?
Please try to focus on what I am saying and do not change the subject until I say so.
I might need to. Again, as I mentioned before, I have to raffle off a game here. But thank you, 58008. We have successfully killed a minute, and you were instrumental.
Oh, right. Sorry, Director.
I have to say, I'm very pleased that 58008 has remembered pretty well to refer to me as Director where they might otherwise refer to me as Sir, which is respectful, I suppose. My title is Director, not Sir. Sir just makes me feel old. I'm not. Yet. First up, a number for Nexus Hunter, who rolled a formidable 68. The next number is, well, to be determined for Kefki. Kefki has rolled a prodigious but insufficient 52. Sympathies, Kefki. And finally, we are rolling a number for Flickerbox TV, who has rolled a formidable and winning 88. A member of the audience has just won a Steam key for Dungeons 2. If you might, please congratulate Flickerbox TV 58008.
Congratulations.
We have 3 minutes remaining. What shall we dress? We've gone through the whales, we've covered how the bugs are conspiracy theory, but you should totally eat them, you know, and if you think it's conspiracy theory, not if you think that someone's trying to force you to eat bugs, well, that'll make you terrible. And yes, I am on Sparky's Discord server, but by the way, while I still have the attention of the 16 so people who gave me 16 likes, much appreciated, if you want to access the Arketer Labs Volunteer Reserve Discord server, please tell me right now. We can put a link in the chat. You can join like that. It's that quickly. You'll wonder, I missed out on it. It is the only place to properly see when I'm going live. It's just how it works. My schedule is pinned to general. Anytime I go live, I tag everyone. Everyone. To inform them. On the server. Not anyone else's server. Though I do promote in other channels. Greetings in chat, Carlos Fish. If you wanted to join the raffle for the game, I'm sorry. You missed it. To close out, the New York Post, AG Merrick Garland says Biden has no impairment mentally, despite counsel Robert Herr's report. If you had, and probably wisely, avoided all news for some time now, you might not have been aware that recently Biden, an investigation as to why he was hoarding top secret documents that he shouldn't have had, you know, the thing they tried to accuse Trump of that Biden was actually guilty of, they said, well, they couldn't prosecute him because he was just too damn senile to prosecute him. That was their actual finding. But we have Merrick Garland here saying that Biden is in fact totally mentally competent, which means that he would immediately need to be brought up on charges. They are, before our very eyes, trying to have it both ways. In the same way, they insist that January 6th was an insurrection, but gay porn on the Senate floor was just a whoopsie-doopsie. Yeah, taking photos, selfies, and praying in the Capitol building, well, that's clearly unhinged, dangerous effort to overthrow the government. Filming some gay porn there, though, that's okie dokie. They just have to let an intern go for that. The weight of these contradictions should be crushing. Well, our time is up. I will be delivering your key shortly. via Discord, Flickerbox TV. I hope you've all enjoyed the stream. I will not be live tomorrow because it's Monday. I'm never live Monday with a show. Tuesday, with any luck, will be the next side quest, and my schedule is expected to be maintained from there. Said, I have a very rough day tomorrow otherwise, and should really be on my way. Until next time. Oh, right. 58008, we're closing down the stream. If you would say goodbye to the audience, please.
Goodbye, viewers. Tune back in next week for another installment.
That is correct. We've hit over 16 likes, ensuring the next Article 8 will be on this very same YouTube channel. Until next time, so long as progress continues, success is inevitable. Ostensibly. Oh, enjoy the video. See, I haven't in there at all. Greeting people are not there just to screw with me.